Tengi sent me some of the question that you gave her or she collected, and so we can begin with that, and that will sort of jumpstart the conversation. Okay, and then if you have anything you want to add to this and so on, then we can do that. So the first question I have on the list is how to deal with negative emotions of others. Well, there's two options, you know. You don't listen to them, or you kill them. I think, you know, I would not recommend the second option because, you know, it might lead you in a lot of problems and possibly in jail. So it's not really a Buddhist recommendation, I would say, right? But the one thing I can say about this is that whatever annoys us in other people's behavior is somewhat pointing out at something in us that we don't like and that we try very hard to hide or suppress. You know, when somebody is in the room and makes a lot of noise and asks for a lot of attention, it's very annoying. And I've noticed in my own experience is that I found it annoying because I found somebody who was more arrogant than me. And there was a challenge there. So that's one way of seeing it. Other people's annoying characteristics, they might be pointing out some of your inner problems that still to this day are unsolved. So if you flip it, you say like, oh, thank you so much. I didn't see that. I'm going to work on it. So it's kind of like a revelation, if you will. So that's one possibility. Another possibility is that actually their behavior hurts you, simply that it's very hurting. You know, like you feel that they're hurting themselves. You feel that through their toxic communication or body language or, you know, general mindset, they are actually sort of spreading viruses of negativity that are harming a lot of people. So what is moved there is your compassion. You see, you really want to do something. Obviously, you're hurt, and other people are also hurt, and the person himself, herself, is also expressing some sort of discomfort through a negative behavior. So in both cases, I would say either it's a call for your compassion and your intelligence. How can I help the situation? Or it is a personal call for your introspection. Because you see, it takes two hands to clap. You know, the Zen riddle, what is the sound of the one hand clap? It takes two hands to clap. So if somebody's negative behavior is hurting you, it's because your hand is clapping. So the question in the perspective of the introspection is, what is responding in me? What part of me is sort of feels the urge to react? What sort of pain do I feel that urges me to react? And then that's an introspection into our own pain. What is this pain? What is my pain? And when you look at your pain in a non-selfish way, you sort of open up to other people who are suffering in the same way. And then you realize that pain is universal. That we may think in a very self-centered manner that my pain is unique. That's the only one. There's no pain like mine. But actually, pain is one. There's many shades of pain, but pain is only one. And that makes you feel like there's so many people who are suffering. And in this moment, your mind that was hurt by the behavior of this person has transformed into a mind of compassion. There's been some sort of a shift in your mind where you were hurt, maybe possibly angry. And now, because you really look at your pain and then you sort of see its universal nature, your mind becomes a mind of compassion. And this transformation can be actually very quick. You know, in less than a second, you can change. You know, like you can change from being quite happy to be extremely sad in less than a second. And why is it so? How come that this transformation of our mind, emotion or feeling, happens so quickly? It is actually due to the essence of mind, which is emptiness. So what we perceive is just the radiance of the mind. It's like the reflection on the surface of the water. It is very clear. You can see, if you look at the surface of a clear pond, you can see the clouds, you can maybe see the trees on the shore and so on. And they seem to be really present, but actually they are not. It's merely a reflection. And then if you change the conditions a little bit, like will you be just like, you know, tapping the water, then suddenly the image disappears and is transformed. Or if the clouds move away, then again, you don't have anything reflecting on the surface. So because our mind is empty in essence, empty means insubstantial. It doesn't have any solidity or substantial reality, but at the same time is also cognizant. It perceives, it feels, it knows. The appearance that are just a reflection on the surface of the mind, they can change very quickly if the causes and conditions reorganize. So if causes and conditions change, like being very self-centered and sort of like closed on my pain, to a mind that sees that pain is one and everybody has some sort of discomfort in their life, and thereby, by extension, you see how painful it is for you and you understand how painful that is for everybody else, then your mind has changed from a mind of pain or a mind of anger to a mind of compassion in no time. And that can be a little bit shocking, because you might ask yourself, where is my pain gone? Where is my anger gone? It seemed so real. I could have killed. I could have, insult the person on the basis of this moment of my mind. And now it's gone. I've met people in jail that were sentenced for like 18 years, 20 years of jail, because in one moment of anger, they killed somebody. That they can have very heavy consequences. And now you just see that, it was so serious and so deep and so real, and now it's gone. And then instead, I've got this mind of very spacious, very open, and very compassionate, and also somewhat intelligent that says like, okay, this is all so sad. How can I help? Everybody. I can help myself. I can help them. I can help the people around that suffer from in the same way, but maybe do not have the chance to, sort of do this introspection as I just did. So you've completely changed your mindset. So this is how adversity can become part of your spiritual path. So it is not a bad thing. I mean, if you from this point of view, everybody else's negativity and, or their own suffering, how their suffering expresses itself, can be a tremendous help on the spiritual path, on the path of transformation, on a path of discovery of your own Buddha nature, and become raw material for a compassionate and intelligent mind. And the only prerequisite condition for this to happen is our willingness to do that. If we are sort of outraged and we sort of like hang on self-righteousness, I am right and this one is wrong, and there's no way you can use this as raw material for compassion and intelligence, because you are not willing to let go what is, to see it transform and reap the benefit and collect the fruit of this transformation. So that's really the prerequisite condition. So I would say in the morning when you wake up, just say like, how can I be of use? How can I be of help today for my fellow human beings? First one, so you begin your day with a positive thing. And the other sort of mantra that you'll keep throughout the day. So whatever life is going to throw at me, I am willing to work with it and use it as raw material for more compassion and more intelligence. And whatever I discover in this process, that's what I'm going to give to the world. So I own it, I work with it, I see the transformation, and this is what I give. This is what we call mind training in Buddhist terminology. We are polishing our mind. It's not that our mind needs to be sort of built into a perfect mind. It is perfect right now. It's just a little bit tarnished, covered with a little bit of dirt, of habits and cognitive dissonances and, karmic traces and scars. And we need to work on that, remove what is not, this beautiful mind of ours that right now is a Buddha mind. So that's my first thing that come in my mind, first thing when I read your question. So I'd like to hear from you. What do you think about this? Would it work for you? Could it be a possible option?
Yeah.
Or is it too much? Is it too much to ask?
I think we all know, we all feel concerned about this. Yeah.
See, and again, I mean, you have to apply discernment to this. There are days where you can do this, and there are days where you cannot. Okay, because you're just like up to here, and there's no space. So step out. If you have the chance to be able to do that, step out and take some me time to reconnect with yourself. It's okay to step back when you are not able to transform the situation into something positive. It cannot be a system. You cannot always run away, because there will be always somewhere someone who will find you. But if today you cannot, I personally do that, sometime, being married, there are times where it's a little bit hot, and then, and oftentimes I tell my wife, give me half an hour. Let me work it out. Okay. And I go in my study and then I sit with it and then I think about it. And if I need to apologize, I see it. Or if I need to explain what was my position, I see it. And then I come back and she is probably doing the same thing. So we're in a better position. And I say, okay, yeah, on that, I was kind of too much. And I really apologize for that. I learned something and I will try, to be sort of like more true to the reality. And then sometimes, I say like, I think like there's something that was a little bit upset in your behavior. And as she's an intelligent woman, she did her job and she was like, yeah, that's true. I was kind of excessive. So, and then we go on and then we forget and forgive. We don't hold grudge. That's very important.
That seems, can you hear me? Yeah. That seems with your wife or with someone very close to you and the possibility to step back, that's great to do that. I think what the more challenging moment is if someone triggers something in you, your mind is used to, and it just like slips out. You seem to not even have the power over yourself to stop yourself and to have this moment of coming into a compassion state, but you slip into anger without knowing how it happened. And I think that can also be okay. And if you are open to the person and you apologize, and most times this anger doesn't mean anything to you, at least my experience, but it may hurt the other person and may mean something to them and then trigger something there as well. So this moment of powerless slipping into anger, that's something I would love to figure out how to, not stop it, but be aware of it.
Yeah. I think it's important to acknowledge that we are, all of us, we are a work in progress. And we need to cultivate patience. Like, let's say in a Buddhist community or a community that shares some intention, an intentional community, we share a certain ground and then a certain project, a certain ideal. And we all agree that that's what we want to achieve. But there are some days where actually we are not really able to do much. And everybody should understand that we all have these bad days. And it's not a problem when you know that we all have these bad days. It's a problem when somebody has a bad year or a bad life, because there is no transformation and no progress. So it's going to be difficult to live and work and create together because there is a major problem. Now, when we accept that we all are on work in progress, and to accept that myself, I am a work in progress, then to begin with, of course, what you say is absolutely true. It's after the fact that you realize that you really have had the wrong reaction and you just act up compulsively. You sort of lost it because habits took over. Your discernment, your intelligent mind and compassionate mind have been overpowered by habits. So habits are not going to disappear overnight. So we have to be sort of okay with that. They're going to accompany us maybe all of our life, but we have to weaken them by replacing them by new habits. So this is a process of you transfer the power from one old habit to a new habit. Okay, but the new habit of discernment, introspection, and compassion now is very weak. And if the habit of self-centered need for protection and satisfaction pools, it wins. The other one just like doesn't have the grip. So you need to transfer the power. And this is an everyday training. And this one you let go, and the other one you strengthen. You take care of the young new sprout, and you don't water so much the old one. You let it dry slowly, slowly. It's really hard to uproot. It would need so much violence that probably you couldn't do it. It's like, some if you have one day you planted bamboo and you thought it was really cool, and then after 10 years they're spread all over your garden, and you try to like dug them out, like good luck. It's just like the rhizomes are just spread everywhere. So that's where we are at now. We have a forest of bamboo. I mean, we have a bamboo stalks and rhizomes everywhere in the stream of our consciousness. So most of the time it's after the fact that we realize. Like, if we realize after the facts that we have been really, we lost it, that's good. Because most people, and ourselves included in older times, we would continue to be wrong and justify why we were wrong by accusing other people, even to the extent of setting them up and lying about them. Okay, so when you realize, let's say, a day later or whatever, whenever you come back to your senses and you have a little bit of time, you realize, like, I was really a pain, I was wrong. I mean, my reaction was just like totally, my reptilian brain answered for me, like my neocortex was gone, and so my reptilian, I spoke like a lizard or a crocodile, and so what can I do to patch up? So you try to apologize if it's possible, you try to restore if possible. Okay, you try your best. Sometimes not possible, but you try your best. And then as you cultivate more sort of self-awareness and discernment and compassion and so on, then maybe the next movement is that you catch yourself while you're doing it. Still, you cannot help. You have to do it. But you see, the latency is less. Before it took you like a day or a week or maybe a year. Now it's while you do it. There's sort of like two persons in you, that one who says like, I really have to say that. And the other says like, oh, you're going to regret it very, very soon. And it's kind of painful. It's kind of painful because you can see that the habits is taking over. But there is one step towards victory because there isn't awareness. And that leads you to further on development, where just before you're going to react or say something that is beyond what you really mean or think, you catch yourself and you can apply one of the remedies, like looking at yourself, looking at the suffering, and so on and so forth. Whatever mind training techniques will be available that you study and train in. And then you can change before it happens. And then that leads you to what can be a further development, is that your mind is immediately a mind of intelligence and compassion in the situation. There's not even one moment where your compulsive habits try to take the control. But you see, that's a long process. That's the idea of mind training. It takes a lot of time, and the prerequisite condition is that you're willing to do this job. So I think I would be very patient with myself when I realize after a day, a month, or whatever, that I've really reacted wrongly and compulsively. I wouldn't beat myself up and say like, you're so bad and so on, because you're just adding pain to injury. It's not necessary. It was bad enough. So use your energy to try to uh, apologize, reconciliate, compensate, whatever can be done. And also accept the fact that maybe it cannot be done because maybe the person is dead. Not that you killed him or her, but just time has passed, and then you couldn't apologize, or you couldn't make peace. For example, you have deep family trauma and you spend the rest of your life, for example, you don't talk to your parents and there's tension and there's anger. And then hopefully, when one of your parents is about to die, that there's enough courage and love to either ask for forgiveness or forgive, because you don't want to stay for the rest of your life with this heavy burden that remains unsolved, unresolved, because there was, we didn't take the opportunity of them being still alive. So unfortunately, sometimes there are things that you cannot repair. But most of the time there you can do something. And then it's a good really reminder, so that now you try to catch yourself when you're doing it, or even better, just before you do it, or even better, cultivate a mind of intelligence and compassion, where most of the time your reactions are very thoughtful and very benevolent. But I understand also the feeling, when you do it and you sort of succumb to the reptilian brain, it feels so good. It feels like it's like, you had, sometimes you have a pimple and then you squeeze it and then the juice comes out. And it's so liberating. But it doesn't solve your problem, and it doesn't solve the problem of your liver. You still have to do something with it. So I understand, but indulging may be a short satisfaction, but it's not going to help on the long run. And it's going to create a sort of a habit where you think that if I express my anger, I feel better. This is not correct. Now, this being said, if I repress my anger, I'm not going to feel good either. This is not a solution. So between repressing and exploding, there might be a middle way, that we need to cultivate. This is the middle way of intelligence, discernment, and compassion. But it's always the middle way is difficult because we're not used to it. And there's so many old habits that are pushing, in every direction. So that's the training. That's the training. Somebody on YouTube is asking, where are you from? That's a very deep philosophical question. Because it begins from you. So you, who is you? So, okay, I could say, that's me. And my name is Tony. I am from originally France. I live in the USA. And now I'm in the cyberspace. Located for a while in Austria and talking to people in Italy. And, that's the nature of reality. I'm sort of somewhere, but really nowhere to be certainly and permanently located. Okay. What do you think?
I find it sometimes like difficult if like a situation like this happens, you are angry and you go out. That sometimes it can happen, like you mentioned also, that's the other person, you say sorry, you apologize, and the other person don't want to accept this apology.
Apology.
How to deal with that? Because it's like, for me, when this happens, it stays, it's on my shoulders. I want to
Huh?
find always ways that the other person understands why I reacted like this, or why I, or maybe it's just better to practice and focus on the fact of letting it go. But it's not easy to let this go because you have, for example, a connection with that person and you broke this connection because of some very stupid reaction that you are not feeling okay with. Just,
Yeah, we try our best. That's all we can do, really. We try our best. And then after that, it's not that you try to please the person by being very nice and bring a little chocolate every day, and like buying your friend, by being sort of like subservient or whatever, but you do your best. You sort of open up and be honest and says like, yeah, okay, I fuck it up really big time and or small time. I'm really sorry about it, and if there's any way I can repair and compensate, I'd be really, really happy to do so. And I really deeply, sincerely hope you understand. And if the person accepts, that's fantastic, because you have a big hug and there's a lot of tears, and we're good to go again, and that's wonderful, But sometimes people are not willing to accept because they are still looking for revenge, and you come with an open heart and open arms, and you're very sincere, and there's a part of them who would like to accept this and be friend again. Everything is smooth and friendly. But there's a part of them, their reptilian mind, who is saying like, oh, she's weak now. Let me chew her. You know? Uh, it's like, when you're a teenager or even younger than that, and then you start trying to see how you can seduce the other, like boy or girls or whatever. And there's this game of like, you suppose like you pretend you don't know them, like you're really, really high on them, but you pretend you don't like them, or you pretend you don't see them, so that they run after you, and you make them pay somehow. And you just want to prove to yourself that you are an object that is beautiful and can be seductive, And so there is this complicated sort of relation, and you have to understand that somebody maybe is trying to, even subconsciously, trying to take an opportunity and get a little bite back at the moment where you're very open and very tender, and that's where you need courage and love, because it might be very hurtful, and then there's the temptation to close back and say, like, fuck off. I don't want to talk to you anymore. I was so sincere and so nice, and this is how you respond, and then you go around the carousel again. So something was missed, and then you miss it again. So all of this is training. I think the bottom line is, what do I want to achieve? There is two benefit in any relation. There's a benefit for the other, as a benefit for myself. And I try to achieve both benefits. I hope that my behavior and my awareness of the negativity that I may have done will be, the outcome would be beneficial for everybody. But sometimes, the other party doesn't want to acknowledge it, doesn't want to receive it, and stand their ground and a lockdown. But in yourself, your personal benefit, you tried your best, you apologize, and that's already the weight on your shoulders, you said, is lifted, because you made an effort, whether it was accepted or not. The beauty and the sincerity and the generosity of your effort is not lessened by the fact that the other one doesn't accept it. It is already beautiful in itself. And then you have to acknowledge that, okay, it doesn't work now, but I don't have to keep the burden of guilt on my life. because we are always aiming at sort of an ideal outcome. You know, ideally, I do my best, I apologize, I compensate, and ideally, the other one will see my sincerity and will also open up and become very vulnerable and say, I forgive and deeply I love you and we're good friends or good lovers, whatever. And we now everything is, you know, we're back to normal and we go on, you know. That's in the movies, you know. In life, it really often happen like this, you know. Uh, I know in a couple, for example, it's very, very important not to let any little problem fester and rot, because that's going to come back and bite you, you know, in the back. And it's very important to clean everything, you know, to sort of like purge and disinfect any little problem, because it might be the source of a lot of suffering. And that's how, you know, even a very deep and very nourishing relationship can end up, because there was too many of this little rot accumulated with time, and we were not careful to really every day clean everything. And so there's a moment where it just falls, it's rotten, and it's too late to do anything about it. You know, it's the only thing you can do about it is that next relationship, I'll be much more intelligent. That's the only thing you can do at this point. So it's, you know, we say TLC, you know, tender love and care. You know, we tender, we take care, we love, we take care. That's what we need to do. But it's not always working, and we have to accept that. You know, even if you do your best. You know, I've been translator for Gendon Rinpoche for many, many years, and you know, Tibetan is a very concise language. So in few words, actually, there's a lot of meaning. And so when you translate it in either French or English, you have to expand quite a lot. So you may have the teacher that speaks for like 5 minutes, and then you as translator, you need 15 minutes, you know. And so I was trying my best. And, you know, I was doing this so that people could understand what Gendon Rinpoche was saying, because most of the people didn't speak Tibetan. So I was trying to do my best. I was giving my time, my energy, and so on to benefit them. 15 or 20 years later, I received a letter of a woman who was doing a sort of a pilgrimage trek in Tibet. And she sent me on this, you know, airmail, very thin blue paper, like 5 pages letter from Tibet, because she had sort of she had to tell me how hurt she was. And basically the tone of the letter was like, how dare you, when you are translating Gendon Rinpoche, speak more than him, and so that you are the star of the show, of the teaching, and so on and so forth. And so basically it's just like a letter of insult for me trying to steal the front light from Gendon Rinpoche. And so there was mixed feeling in my mind. So one of the mixed feeling is, this is unfair. You know, she doesn't know what it is to translate, and she doesn't know that Tibetan is concise, and then in French you need more words. So that's very unfair. And then she was sort of accusing me of having a very negative mind, you know, trying to take advantage on my teacher, which was very, very hurting. And then I quickly realized that this is my problem of being hurt. And, you know, luckily I'm old enough now to, I can't really not care so much about what people say, you know. Well, you know, you think what you think, and, you know, I am who I am. So that's it. But then I thought, like, poor she. For like 15 years or 20 years, she's been carrying this cancer inside And luckily, because she was somewhere in Tibet, maybe it was a high altitude and there was less oxygen in her brain. So something came up and she could like spit it out. Like she could spit a tumor on paper and then send it from Tibet to me. So I was happy that she could do that. And I was really sad that it took so long for her to be able to get that out of her chest. And I'm not even sure that to this day, because I don't think I ever met her again. I'm not even sure to this day that she's not still mad at me. But that's not my problem. That's her problem. It could be my problem in a sense if I just feel sorry for her. That's the extent of my problem. And maybe I could try, if I see her, to explain the translation difficulty in the language. But I'm not even sure she's interested. So we have a lot of things like this in life that have no solution. They're unresolved. And we have to learn to live with this. When you're old enough, you got a lot of, how would you say, dead bodies in your cemetery of mind and memory, But you live with it. We try our best and we try to enhance ourselves every day a little bit. That's the best we can do, really. Anything else on this topic, or do you have a question, or should we move to the next question on the list? The next question is about expectations. I see Tengi thumb up. Okay. The next question was on expectations. Especially regarding meditation. I think the basic thing we have to understand in the Buddhist context, okay, well, it's universal, but let's say in the Buddhist context, is that our mind is fine right now. It's not, your meditation is not going to make it better, and it can't, your meditation can't make it worse. I'm talking about the real deep aspect of your mind, what we in Buddhist terms we call the Buddha nature. We're all endowed with this. This is the very essence of our mind and its nature. And that's the fact that mind is empty in essence, but aware, cognizant as its nature. So this is fine. This very mind is Buddha right now. Okay. So if the expectation when we meditate is to reach enlightenment, you can relax. You can relax because this mind is already fine. Now, what we need to do is to remove or dispel whatever obscures this reality and prevents us from being aware of our own innate wisdom, our own innate treasure. That's all practice is all about. Whether you study or meditate or contemplate, it's not an accumulation. It's actually a liquidation. Is we let go of things. When you study, it's not like now you're in a library. It's not an accumulation of more words and concepts, really. Like you have many, many books on the shelves. When you study to realize how all of the ideas you have about reality and yourself and the world and environment and so on are mere speculations, either hearsays, things that you heard from other people and then you keep repeating, or very deeply ingrained stories that you got from your parents or your culture. And it's basically to study is to revisit all the things that we took for granted and all the myths and see if they really stand the test of logical reasoning, critical thinking. You take apart everything, that's study. You get new informations about what your mind might be, what the world could be, what to perceive could be, and you try to see if by your own exploration, you try to see if this is valid. And at the same time, you question all the old habits you had and try to see if they are valid. But most of the time, when you look at things that you took for granted, you realize that they were just myth. They were just habit. They do not stand the test of deep critical thinking. So when you study and contemplate, you free yourself. It's like pruning a tree. If you want fruit, you can't have too many branches on an apple tree, right? If you have wood, you don't have fruit because, all the energy, the sap and so on is here to nourish the branches. So if you want to have fruit on a fruit tree, you need quite regularly to cut some branches. You need just to give a good structure to the tree, but also so that the energy can go to the fruit, the flowers, and then later the fruit. So studying is a little bit about pruning our conceptual mind, cutting the dead wood. There's so much dead wood in our conceptual mind. Old habits, old stuffs, and so on. 90% of them are subconscious. So we have to dig and go deep and then look at all of this, where it comes from. It doesn't stand the test of critical thinking. And we can get rid of it, old habits. Why should I carry this thing that actually has been exposed as a fraud or a myth and doesn't work? I don't have to keep this. The only thing you can do with the dead wood you cut from the tree is store them to start the fire in the stove. Let them dry, and then they're good kindling wood. But otherwise, you don't leave them on the tree. So that's study. And then that brings us to a point where the mind is sort of like more open. It's like if you were in a very thick forest, and then you created a clearing. So there's much more space. And there's really few things to really look into it. And when you sit, first you try to still your mind, you learn to still your mind. And once the mind is abiding calmly, its awareness can be directed towards anything we want to come to really realize deeply. Then you go into insight. And then you look at everything, what is the other, what is me, what is knowing, what is the relation between me and others, all of that. Does, I have some sort of a defining characteristic, color, shape, and so on. And intuitively, through the meditative experience, we come to realize things that cannot be thought or conceptualized. It's another language. It's an experience that is very intimate, very personal, and that doesn't rely upon conceptual thinking. But the result of this process of meditating is tremendous certainty. You can't really have the words to explain why you're certain about the nature of reality, the nature of your mind, but you're certain. There is a certainty. And it's not a certainty that comes from stubbornly clinging to concept, because we got rid of all the concept. It's a certainty that comes from seeing one's own face. That's what we say in using the Buddhist terminology. Mind comes to know itself. The famous Greek order, know thyself. Mind knows itself. And there's a tremendous certainty. And this certainty becomes the basis for action. So whatever you're going to do afterwards will be inspired by the certainty you've gained through meditation. So that's the process of study, contemplation, and meditation. It is a process directed at gaining or discovering wisdom, discernment that turns progressively into wisdom. So that's it's all about. So what is the expectation there? The expectation to get something we wouldn't have? No, we have it already. You know, maybe there is a little bit of impatience in letting go of all the things that are blocking us from seeing this reality, from preventing mind from knowing itself. Yeah, there must be a little bit of impatience, but you have to understand that you cannot speed up the flowers. They blossom at their own time with their own pace, with causes and conditions. So the only thing you can do really is to take care, add, you know, a little bit of manure, a little bit of water, a little bit of sun. So it's a very organic process of liberation and discovery at the same time. If you liberate one thing, what is becomes obvious. So I can understand some sort of impatience, but I would call it longing or aspiration. And in that sense, it's good because it's really a driving force. Okay. Expectation is more connected to a concept that we have of what the fruit of our efforts will be. If I work hard, if I meditate a lot, if I do a lot of things, I will have a big reward. You know, if I work hard, I will get a big reward. And this big reward is not so much connected with a reality of mind, but it's more a projection, an idea we have about what the ideal thing will be, what the reward will be. So basically, we get excited about our own creation, which is most of the time not at all connected with reality. It's just a fantasy. Okay, and the problem with expectation is that it comes with its shadow, which is disappointment. You know, when you expect something and it doesn't come, you are extremely disappointed. And somebody must pay. Somebody is guilty. It's either the world, who is always troubling you when you're about to reach your precious idea of enlightenment, or it's yourself being so lazy and so attached to the worldly pleasures that you cannot reach your fancy of enlightenment. And so instead of creating discernment and benevolence, then you create more confusion and more disappointment and more bitterness and more aggression in a way, you know. So I think if you can just sit with the idea that this mind right now is Buddha, it's like a beautiful mirror that can reflect anything, but this mirror has dust or dirt on it, and the only thing I have to do is really clean. You know, there's a story in the sutras about a man who wanted to become a disciple of the Buddha, but he was not, let's say, very bright and very sharp and intellectually very, very quick. He was kind of, you know, slow, let's put it like this. And everybody thought that he doesn't stand a chance. And the Buddha said, yeah, you can come and help. But, you know, let's be practical. Right now, the thing you can do is to clean everybody's shoes. That's what you can do. And so when you clean the shoes, you just say, as you clean the shoes, you said, remove the stain, remove the dirt, remove the stain, remove the dirt, remove the stain. And then after a certain time, the question comes in his mind, what does it mean? You know, remove the stain, remove the dirt. And so he went to the Buddha, and then the Buddha said, this shoes is perfect. You're not cleaning the shoes. You're removing the dirt, you're removing the stain. So the shoes, it's a metaphor for your Buddha nature. It's good, it's a good shoe. And you just need to remove the dirt and remove the stain. And the dirt and the stain, the dirt is habits and negative actions and so on, and the stain is ignorance. So what you need to remove the ignorance and remove the negative habits, the negative tendency through body, speech, and mind. And the guy keep doing this. He keep cleaning the shoes, but with a different perspective. And the shoe becomes his way of, that becomes his practice, if you want. And then he reached the state of arahat. He reached the state of emancipation, liberation, by cleaning the shoes. So there's no big expectation in there. He was not, at any point, he was expecting anything. He was simply doing what needs to be done, which is to remove the dirt and remove the stain. So if you have expectations, understand that they're probably related to an artificially constructed goal. Because if the goal is to reach enlightenment, your mind has this capacity right now, it's perfect. You just need to clean the shoes. There's not much expectation about that. Just do it. Does it make sense? Do you see?
You have to keep on cleaning them again and again and again.
Exactly. But I mean, every time you wake up in the morning, you know, these little mantras, may I be of help today, life is short, may I be of help today, you know, and may I become aware of my inner movement and emotion and then transform them. That's one. And then today it's a good day to remove the dirt and remove the stain. Let's clean the shoes. Or the dishes, or the garden.
Sometimes they are very dirty and sometimes it's quite okay.
Yeah, of course. Because, you know, like I have some shoes I was offered 25 years ago. Very nice shoes, very expensive, very comfortable. I never wear them because I don't want to damage them. They're very clean, but I never use them. And then I got my working boots. You know, in 6 months, they're just like so dirty, you know? So I have to clean my working boots. This mind that works every day needs to be maintained. You know, the beautiful shoes that is never exposed doesn't gather much dirt. So it's okay. Working boots can be dirty. Actually, when you have, you know, where I live in Virginia, that everybody wear boots and has a truck, you know, a pickup. So because basically it's farmers. And then when you have brand new boots, you're suspect. Because that means like, are you really a farmer? Your boots are too clean to be honest. You know? And I remember once I went to the market with my brand new boots. And then one guy with farmers is like, nice boots. It was kind of saying like, yeah, you don't do much with that. And now I go with my boots. My wife doesn't really like it because they're really dirty. But, you know, the farmers have nothing to say about my boots now anymore. Because they're real working boots. Yeah. So in which way expectations are blocking you? I'm interested in hearing from you. What is the problem with your expectations, as the question came to me?
I'm just thinking.
Batteries.
It was an artificially constructed goal. Slowly working with that idea.
Sorry, there was a lot of disturbing noises. So it was a constructed goal, but?
Yeah, but I'm slowly becoming aware of that. Slowly.
But that doesn't hinder your action. You can be doing what you do, but with less expectations. Can you? Do you see how it's possible, or if it's possible?
Yeah. It's just yeah, it's with time. Well, definitely at the start, it was very strong. So yeah, work in progress.
Yeah. You got it. Work in progress. That's all we are. We're a work in progress. As long as we're in progress and there's a work, that's fine. Anytime you settle, either you think that you've done it and you're perfect, it's a mental construction and you are not, and everybody knows it, you're the only one who ignores it. Or you think you're disqualified. You sort of give up before even trying. You know, in both cases, you're stuck. But acknowledging that we work in progress is just cool. That you just keep doing what you have to do. And you know, I had the privilege to meet great teachers on like several incarnations. Not mine, my own incarnation this life, but I met like the 16th Karmapa and the 17th Karmapa. I met, of course, my teacher Gendin Rinpoche, and now Gendin Rinchen, who is the reincarnation of Gendin Rinpoche. And it was very interesting to see how some of the job that, let's say, the 16th Karmapa or the previous Gendin Rinpoche started, but because of causes and conditions that were not present, or any reasons really, some of their projects or intentions were not brought to fruition. And I see them now in this new incarnation. They pick it up where it stopped, and they just like, okay, what was the job of like yesterday was not finished yesterday? Then I keep doing it, you know, and I can see this in my life, you know, I didn't finish yesterday, I'll begin today and try to finish it. But now I see it on several lifetimes. So that opened up for me a huge perspective, because, you know, the time factor, the pressure that comes from time, you know, maybe that's connected with also anticipation. Not only we have anticipation for a big result, but quick, before I die or before I'm too old, whatever. If you remove the time factor, knowing that your mind is not born, so it's not dying, it's just the circumstances of your experiences that change. You know, you keep doing it maybe over several lifetimes. And so that allows us to be less stressed while we are doing whatever we intend to do. When something that you want to achieve, for example, like you're in Bordeaux and it's a community life, and you try to achieve something that, you know, that's sort of a common asset or common aspiration. It's not depending on you only. It's one thing I realized, you know, in the almost, I don't know, 40 years I lived in a community with many people. Now I'm just in 2 people community. Is that it doesn't only depend on you. I mean, you can put all you want, all your energies and so on, but if there is not a sort of a cohesion and togetherness to pull the cart in a certain direction, it's not going to happen. And you can be very disappointed and very angry at, you know, I was very personally, you know, when the project, that one project that Gendin Rinpoche really wanted to do, and he asked us to, some of us, to work on it, and then for some reasons we couldn't pull it up, you know, and pull it out and make it. I felt very bad, because I felt that I betray him, you know, I didn't put enough energy or whatever, this project didn't come to life, and I felt bad, and I had a lot of regrets, you know. And now I realize that how arrogant that is, you know. It's not just my project, it's a collective dream that several of us think would be really good for everybody, for humanity, and we think that's good, we want to do it. But if it didn't happen, it's not because of me. And if it would have happened, it wouldn't have been only thanks to me. It's a collective effort. And I learned that by seeing now the reincarnation of Gendin Rinpoche, Gendin Rinchen, who is picking up his project with a fresh and new energy, and new people, his generation, younger people, and he's pushing the obstacles that in his previous life were immovable. And now that I see that the same people that said no to the project, now they're happy to say, yeah, that's a great project. Just take another lifetime. So that was really for me healing. I might not be part of this project because, it's young folks and you need a lot of energy and so on. And I'm more trying to enjoy my retirement than get into more activity. But I'm very happy because I can see that probably in one lifetime this project will come. So it just took 2 lifetimes to be realized, which basically is not much, So it was very healing for me because now I don't have regrets or shame or bitterness, because I know that whatever the intention was is going to be accomplished probably now in this new incarnation and this new existence. So that's how we can be, part of a project like Bordeaux, it's a very long project. The whole history, think about whoever came first there. And I'm not talking about, the founder of Bordeaux. I'm talking about the farmers. We came there first, and it started putting stones on stones to make retaining walls so that they could have a little piece of soil that they could plant and make something to live on, and then build the houses. How many rocks? How many hundreds of years of carrying rocks and these big stones on the roof up there, and then cutting those big trees to make the timber frame and all of that. And then after several hundred years, then some hippie / Buddhist came and said oh, that could be a really nice place to live. And then, this was in the 90s or even earlier than that. And now 30, 40 years later, that's something else, but it's still going on and it's still a story to be written. There's more to do. So this is very humbling because you're a little contributor to a larger project. And so probably that's a good way to pacify your expectations and your impatience about how big the result should be and how quickly it should come. How many years it took to have a road leading to almost to Bordeaux. Now everybody comes, a lot of people come in from the Kitchell side and says well, that's kind of easy to come. But I remember all these years when, it was I call it my yearly hike, my yearly jogging, walking up from Viganella up to Bordeaux. Was really hard, So it took many years, but now it's easier. And now there's even internet. I remember a time I was trying to catch a cell phone signal somewhere. I had to buy a SIM card from Italy, so I could hope to have a signal. And now you got internet and you can Zoom from Bordeaux. Nobody would have thought of that 20 years ago.
Even 3 years ago. We had internet from 6 until 10.
Yeah, it
3
was
years
10
ago, we had
years.
internet from 6 until 10 o'clock in the evening.
I didn't get that one because you were laughing. I loved that you laughed, but I didn't hear.
I said it was even 3 years ago already, like still like that, because we had internet from 6 until 10
Okay.
evening in the evening, so 4 hours.
Yeah. Well, you know where I live, I live in, it's quite remote. It's in the forest, in the woods. And we didn't have internet I've been living there for now 12 years. And we didn't have internet. We tried satellite dish, but didn't work. And the only thing we had was our cell phone. But in summer, we didn't have service because of the leaves. We only had service in the winter. Okay. And now, just before I left, maybe a month before I left, they announced us that they're going to install optic fiber to our house. I don't, magic. They just dug through the forest, I don't know, kilometers of line, optic fiber, and then here we are. We had like super fast internet. It just took 12 years. At this point, I had given up all really expectations. We just said like, maybe one day it will happen, but we found a way to work around it or live without it. And now it's another era. Now it's the era where we have super fast internet. So I can do Zoom sessions and everything from my house. I don't have to go out. But we also have access to all the junk, the TV channel and cable and all of that. And so we have to be extremely disciplined not to be dragged into this. So what is the blessing? What is the curse? I don't know. The blessing is that I can do more, but the curse is also I can do more. There's a question that I found very interesting. Who are you when you do not work? Or how to deal with a bad conscience when you did your work and rest, but others still work? Who are you when you do not work? That's quite interesting because it sort of like implies that your personality is work. And that when you do not work, you're not sure of who you are. Do I understand correctly the question?
That's a German question because an Italian doesn't ask this question.
I totally agree with you. As a French, I try to figure out what is not working. What is the problem? I rejoice. I rejoice because whatever was my task, I did it. And so I'm very happy because I did it. I did my fair share of the job. So I'm happy. And then I look at other people working and doing their fair share of the job, and I'm happy because they will be happy once they are finished. And now I'm happy a bit earlier than them, but it's okay. It's just a little difference of time. Like, if I live in the USA and I'm happy when you're happy, we still have 6 hours of difference. So it's not the same time. So you can be happier before me. And I'm fine, So, yeah, I think as a French person, I don't really see that. But I can understand the question of guilt. Like, should I do more? Like, once I finish my job, should I go and help them? So if you push this reflection ab absurdo, there's always somebody working somewhere. So does it mean that you have to work until you die? in which case you're not going to work anymore, and so you're not going to help because you'll be dead. So I think, you know, it's always back to the basic things. We're in a community. We discuss, we exchange. What is the job? Some have to start early and some can start later. Some will finish early, some will finish later. But we all know that everybody is doing his, her fair share of the work. And we trust that. And so that when I'm done, I'm happy. And I'm happy to see others doing what they are doing, because I know that even if I'm restoring my energy by resting, which is very important, I know that the communal task is moving forward. It's like we're taking shift, you know. I've been working shifts, you know, and so I worked night shift, 12 hours from 8 to 8. And so when I finished my night shift, I would take the bus to go home, and I will see people who were taking the bus to go to their work, you know, and I didn't have a problem saying like, oh my, I should maybe go and do a 12-hour shift because everybody else is working. No, I knew that I had to rest so that I can do my job the next day, or rather the next night. So I don't know, maybe can, you said it's a German question, so can a German or Swiss enlighten? What sort of uneasy feeling you have about this, doing your job? I understand if you are not doing your job and then you hide, then I understand that at times you can feel a little bit guilty or ashamed, right? This I understand. But if you have done your full share and you rest, what's the problem?
I think it's just that maybe different people have different opinions what the full share is. And maybe you feel like someone expects more of you than you can give at a certain time or something like that.
Okay. Well, then it's back to communication. You know, when you have your gathering circle, you know, in the morning or whenever you do that, and then, you know, there's a sort of a job description, what should be accomplished today and what we try to do and so on. Then it should be really understood, like what is everybody's task and how much it benefits the, you know, the community. And some tasks seems to be easy, but they are not as time because they are not as time consuming, but they're crucial. You know, let's say, you know, like the cook, after everybody had helped prepping, the cook works and then serves, and when everybody has finished their lunch, then you can see them on Piazza Milarepa enjoying a coffee, you know, in the sun while everybody's getting ready to go to work, you know. And then you can say like, look at this, you know, freeloaders, this cook lizard enjoying the sun while we have to work. No, they've done their job, and then you actually, their job is in your stomach, and this is what gives you energy to do yours. So I think it's the bottom line is probably jealousy. You know, like, I don't want to do more than others. I want like very equal, but there's not such a thing as equality in the work, because some are time consuming, some are not, but they're very highly demanding. Some are very vital, some others you can just, you know, not do it all the day, every day, and so on. So they're very different and also irregular. So you cannot compare. It's like comparing apples and carrots. I think it's the intention. So if your intention is to what you have been requested to do by the community, you do it. And then if you have a hard job, then you're not looking over your shoulder and seeing people who are not working while you're sweating and doing hard work. And because that's a problem of jealousy. And when you see people doing a hard work, you don't have to feel guilty. Now, if you want to give a hand and help, that's fine too, but nobody should be expecting this from you because you already done your fair share. So define the fair share by this community exchange where everybody agrees on how the work is divided. And then work with your own emotions regarding this, whether it is guilt or jealousy. Any second thought about this?
And in border, it also most of the time depends also of how long a person stays in the place already, or have a kind of responsibility, or people who come for 1 week, or people who come for 1 month, or for 2 or 3 months, or just to like the people who are in the beginning coming for the first time, some you have that come for the first weeks and directly they start to do a lot of things, and some other people need some more time to understand everything and to so I think it's I think it's just very important to accept that everybody is different and that everybody do it on his own way, and that everybody who comes here gives what he can give and what he want to give, and because it's also a place where we work on this part also to give the best of yourself and learn around that. So
yeah, no, that's a very, very accurate observation. I think it's like, if you come for a short time, you're very enthusiastic, you discover the place and you really want to participate, and it's very inspiring. So you're running like 100-meter race. And then when you're here for a season, then you're running a 400-meter race. And then if you're here for several decades, you're running a marathon. So you're not in your pace is different. And so I think that's the beauty of this, of having different involvement in terms of time and energy and so on. Some who have been here for many, many years, like Gérard or Tenguier and others, they are carrying the history of the place, and also they have met with Shama Rinpoche and Karmapa and so on. So they have a sort of a long-term perspective, and so that's their participation. That's what they offer, and it's very important. Those who stay for a season, they will be more into the how to get this thing running for the season. And then people who come, like work away or whatever, come to discover the place and come for like, a week or so. There's a lot of joy and passion, and it's a beautiful place, and we're all so happy. And so they give a lot of energy. And so I can appreciate the three level, like the very long term, very specific involvement and generosity, and the middle term, and then the short term. And then in each, there is for me a source of joy. If I can't rejoice, if I can only see the problem that this one is not pulling the full load, or this one is not doing this, or this one is sort of like, because they've been here forever, they have a nice comfortable chair behind the desk and they don't have to do a heavy load. I think that this is a problem, personal problem of jealousy and not being part, and jealousy in the sense of lack of generosity and confidence and trust. So there is an absence of love and benevolence. And again, as we are all work in progress, there's always days where somebody is, hiding behind a shovel, you know. Like the jokes they say about the people, who work on the street, that they're not doing much, like there's always three people holding a shovel. And so it's pilots in an helicopter, and then they're flying over a group of orange things, and the guy said, oh, are they human or are they sunflower? And the other says, if they are moving slowly, they are sunflowers. So you have, of course, in every community, you have people that are trying to take an opportunity, do less and take as much as they can. It's unavoidable. But these people come and go. They never stay, because when you live in a community as intimate as Bordeaux, where you're always together almost, and you can't hide so much or for such a long time. So there's always a moment where it's obvious to everybody that, you're not really playing the game. And then you'll be kindly reminded that, hey, we need your participation here, or the project won't last, So oftentimes when they realize they're exposed, then they sort of like try to find another place where they can hide for a while. When we were building the monastery in France, in Coudreling, it was a very good opportunity for us to check the people who were aspiring to do the 3-year retreat. And you could see among the people, the volunteers that were helping constructing the monastery or the temple, who were leaders, who were very conscientious worker and so on. And you knew who was always hiding behind the big heap of sand, pretending to be working, and that this person cannot do a 3-year retreat. Because if you don't want to be exposed and put yourself in a little bit of, challenge, 3-year retreat that's not going to be for you. So when you look at people working, you could immediately know who could be a good cook, because the cook is the most important. I mean, the teacher is important, but the cook is very important in the 3-year retreat, because in a 3-year retreat, the cook is the one who can sense the mood. And, there are times where everybody's sort of like tired and depressed, and then he will make steak and fries, something that, or tofu and fries, something food of some sort, And so Gendon Rinpoche once told us, you can almost accept anybody for the 3-year retreat, but you have to be very careful about choosing the cook, So you can see in the group, oh, this one would be really a good cook, because he or she is really taking care about everybody, sensing the mood of the community, and then bringing joy and so on, very generous. So that's going to be a good cook, which in our system is, it's like being a retreatant with extra qualities. So it's not that you're just a cook serving the retreatants, you're a retreatant with extra qualities. So it's you can see that action is revealing a lot. And so after that, when you have to make decision about who comes in and who stays out, when you've seen people working on the working side for 1 year, pretty much you know who you can take and who you cannot or you shouldn't. So work in progress. And the last question that is left on the list that you gave me or sent me, how to deal with repeating thoughts chains, especially when they are negative. See them, notice them. So that means be aware, cultivate mindfulness, and be gentle with yourself. Like, it's painful enough to have these negative patterns. You don't have to create on top of that an extra punishment, which is to punish you for having negative patterns. Okay? And be patient and work with them. And you can work with them by replacing them. Let's say if you notice that you're very stingy, you're not very generous, and I'm not talking about money, I'm talking about being open to others, and even in your contact you're sort of like closed. The purse, the wallet of your heart is closed. Then learn to be generous, open up, make little gifts here and there, progressively become more generous. If you see that you tend to be repeatedly unsatisfied, or I wouldn't say depressed, because depressed is another thing to work with, which requires much more presence. But let's say you're constantly unsatisfied. Yeah, it could be better. There's not enough. Basically that's the mantra. It could be better. There's not enough. Then work with contentment. Cultivate a thought of, well, we have a roof, we have a bed, and we have food. That's good. That's the basic necessity of life. This sort of positive thoughts. So notice your negative patterns and replace. Don't charge yourself, with negative thoughts like you're bad or you're not able to change or whatever. Do not burden yourself with these unnecessary patterns, but try to cultivate a joyful mind by small touches. It doesn't have to be big. You can be like if you see you're really tense all the time, because you're kind of worried that you fail or you don't do something right or something terrible might happen. You're very tense. Now and then you just have a little moment where you laugh, and a little moment where you are carefree. Not too long, because your actual tendency will be now a little bit endangered, and then you might close back very strongly, and long enough so that you can enjoy it and say like, well, that's fine to be free and carefree and happy mind. I should do that more often. So progressively change the course of habits by creating new habits. Each of the qualities that we develop on the path to awakening, such as generosity or respect for others or oneself, patience, joy in the accomplishment of common tasks, and so on, any stability that we gain and we discover in our mind, and the growing discernment, all of this achievement are a battle against their opposite that you won at some point, and you're repeatedly winning this battle. Of course, sometimes we lose, but basically we're repeatedly winning against this stinginess, generosity, lack of respect, and selfishness, attention, presence, benevolence, respect, impatience, patience. Work in progress will take time. Don't be so in a hurry. It's going to happen. The energy in participating in a communal task is coming from the joy to see that we're moving forward toward a goal that we have set together, or we if it's a long story like Bordeaux, that you wholeheartedly decided to join and participate, there's joy. Then joy brings energy. Maybe you didn't have energy because you didn't have joy. You didn't have joy because you didn't see how good the project was and how great your participation was. You underestimated the value of your participation. So all of this, and as you sit more and more with yourself and observe your mind and give your mind a break and let it, find its peace and settle and enjoy the, you sit, it's such a beautiful environment. Anywhere you sit, you can feel the wind and the trees and so on. And there's a sense of peace and joy. And then you know that your mind is a very good ground. And sometimes it's a little bit agitated, but deeply, it's very good ground. So you gain trust and confidence in yourself, in your mind. And then as you look at things in yourself and outside more and more precisely, then discernment grows. It becomes more clear. Yeah, so your judgment is better. So your choices are better. So, and you see that in the consequences of your choices. So all of that is transforming old habits into new habits that are lighter, more benevolent and caring, and more enlightened in the sense of being clearer and based on a better judgment. But again, work in process. It's a long journey, I think we've covered the question you sent me, more or less.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us. Yeah.
And so thank you for being in this beautiful place and contribute. And I hope you find a lot of nourishment for you and inspiration by joining this project, no matter how long you join it for. And I thank you because on the behalf of everybody else who might come occasionally, like I do to this place, I'm really happy to see that it's still here and still thriving. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to see you live next year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly what happened here in Graz. I haven't been in Vienna also, but Graz was longer, it was over a week. And I haven't been here for over 2 years. And it was so joyful to, meet again, old friends, and then come to know new faces. And that was really nice. I mean, I'm very appreciative of the technology and we can meet despite the obstacles and so on. But yeah, real life is much better.
Yes.
So in the meantime, take care of yourself, take care of each other. And every month I try to have one of these Dharma roadside discussions. But if you feel like you need one more specifically for you guys, for your little family, then we can organize this, So there's
Thank you very much. Yeah,
okay.
Very nice.
Yeah. Until everything is aligning perfectly so that we can meet again.
Yeah. So we make wishes and
yeah.
Yes. But if you are in Austria, why you didn't come here this year?
Because
yeah, it's really far.
He's in US normally.
the question I would return it. Why didn't you come to Austria?
Because of staying here. You have to pay for a test.
The thing is, my friend in the USA, how come you have to go for so long in Europe? So I have to sort of balance everybody's expectation of me being somewhere for a long time. Like I was here and people say like, oh, just 1 week. Why don't you come for a month next time? I tried to tell them like, I will be in Europe for 2 months already. Okay. And so, yeah, it's just time management. Okay. And also I'm an old man. I don't have the juice I used to have 30 years ago. So I need to take a break between 2 retreats so I can recover and not collapse. So this and that, all the conditions, energy and time management. But I'll try my best to come to Bordeaux and next summer.
Super, thank you.
But you're welcome anytime, wherever I am, and also in the cyberspace. And why don't you come and visit me in Virginia? It's beautiful. Okay, my
Thank
dear
you
friend,
very much.
you have a good afternoon, end of your afternoon, and see you very soon.
See you very soon. Thank you.